In the first season of Stranger Things, main character 11 displays multiple AP psychology concepts, precisely those from the units of cognitive, social, clinical, and developmental psychology. Here are some specific examples from each unit. Cognitive psychology. Early on in the first season, 11 demonstrates a language level similar to a 2-year-old in the telegraphic stage, despite being around 12 years old. When asked questions from characters like Benny, Hammond, and Mike, 11's responses were limited to 2 or 3 words. However, as the season progresses, 11 is seen to demonstrate the process of language acquisition, where she is ultimately able to speak coherently and construct more meaningful sentences than she did in the onset of the season. 11's major improvement in speaking exemplifies the development of her Wernicke's and Broca's area. Adding on to the examples of cognitive psychology, 11 exhibits a faulted sense of memory recall. When Mike and his friends interrogate her in the Wheelers' basement, 11 was unable to pinpoint and recall details regarding her previous and past life. 11's inability to recall information about her past life exemplifies the cognitive psychology concept of retrograde amnesia. Now, although 11's ability to speak and remember things were not on par with those around her age, her problem-solving skills were an exception. When Mike, Dustin, and Lucas needed help in finding their lost friend Will, 11 was able to assist them through her supernatural mind powers. 11's mind frequency abilities enabled her to locate Will in an alternate dimension, the Upside Down. 11's use of her mind powers and critical thinking skills to help find Will reflect Piaget's formal cognitive development stage, which is where logical thinking and abstract reasoning begin to occur. Social psychology. 11's character also offers insight into social psychology. Because of 11's unconventional upbringing in the Hawkins lab, her exposure to the real world after her escape left herself in a predicament in regards to social identity. 11 was not known to carry an actual name that represented herself as a person, but when Mike discovered the number 011 tattooed on her wrist, he decided to grant her the name 11, which she continued to carry on throughout the rest of the season. 11's transition from being a nameless person into having the alias 11 highlights her significant milestone of having a self-concept. Despite 11 being known to Mike and his friends, her identity still remains unknown to those in the town of Hawkins. Because 11 doesn't have much background information and possesses abnormal psychic abilities, she faces mistreatment from those at the Hawkins National Laboratory. People like Dr. Brenner view her merely as an object of destruction and power rather than an actual human being. The mistreatment 11 endured at the Hawkins Laboratory portrays the ideas of prejudice and discrimination of social psychology. Clinical psychology. Because of 11's interesting nature and undisclosed history, her character development throughout the first season does a great job in revealing concepts of clinical psychology. The concept of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, can be applied to 11, where she is seen experiencing symptoms of severe trauma and abuse due to the harmful experiments Dr. Brenner forced upon her in the Hawkins laboratory. 11's flashbacks, emotional numbing, and constant sense of hypervigilance, and being on the lookout for the Hawkins policeman at all times display her unfortunate case of PTSD. Additionally, 11's case of learned helplessness is evident through her belief that she has little control over her circumstances, primarily seen through her blind following of Dr. Brenner's orders without any questioning or showing much hesitance. 11's sense of hopelessness can be tied to her issues of attachment with Dr. Brenner. In the first season, it is apparent that 11 refers to Dr. Brenner as Papa, implying that she sees him as some sort of father figure despite being so abusive. 11's act of still viewing Dr. Brenner as some sort of parental figure despite being so harsh and savage underscores the importance of early attachment to parents and guardians in the topic and discussion of developmental psychology, which is the last topic of psychology to be analyzed in 11 in Season 1. Developmental psychology. 11's character can be examined through the lens of developmental psychology, specifically through Kohlberg's 3 stages of moral development. Beginning with the pre-conventional stage, when 11 encounters Mike and his friends, her primary focus was her own survival. After escaping the Hawkins laboratory, she helped them find Will in exchange for protection and a place to hide in Mike's basement. 11's action of cooperating with Mike and his friend group exemplifies how the pre-conventional stage revolves around obedience in order to avoid negative outcomes and gain self-interested needs. 11 also demonstrates the conventional stage through her interpersonal relationships with Mike and his friend group. As she begins to spend more time with the boys, she begins to have a genuine connection and feel a sense of loyalty towards them. In the incident where the boys were being chased by the Hawkins policeman, 11 risks her safety and fights off the Hawkins policeman in order to protect the boys. 11's actions in this scenario demonstrate the conventional stage and 11's need to maintain good relationships in order to gain social approval from others. Lastly, 11 demonstrates the post-conventional stage through her conscious decision to confront the Demogorgon and protect her friends and the town, even though it was extremely risky and physically taxing to her body. This behavior by 11 at the end of Season 1 showcases the ideas of the post-conventional stage. 11's self-sacrificial act to save others reflects her maturity and moral development as a character, where she views things beyond her own personal ideals and commits her moral reasoning to a higher, universal ethical principle, which is the safety of her own friends.